Hello, so this is another movie review on Penelope, starring folks such as Christina Ricci and James McAvoy and Catherine O'Hara, and Reese Witherspoon co-produced it, and she has a small role in it also, and I really enjoy this film. At first I didn't know if I would have maybe just a mixed opinion on it, because it's not the most consistent of films, and I think potentially maybe they could have been more done with it, but I really love the tone of the piece. I really love the visual style and the colour scheme, and just the sets and things that were used. And I think the performances are quite strong too. I've seen some people dissing the film, particularly James McAvoy fans, because he often does some quite meaty, heavy dramatic roles and takes quite interesting pieces on for his work. I think that this was perhaps a little too mainstream and cutesy and stuff for some of his fans, but I really enjoyed him in this. But then again, I tend to enjoy him in almost everything except Wanted, because that was shit. But this is sort of I suppose it's like a fairy tale in its own way, about a girl who was born with they keep referring to the face of a pig. It's essentially just the nose. She just has a pig nose. She's meant to have pig ears, but you never see them. So I think they just forgot to do that at some point. The child version of her has the ears going, but I think you only really ever see the nose. And that's Christina Ricci's character, Penelope, and she's just adorable with the nose, though. I find it quite funny, because it's, you know, meant to be this mega facial deformity that causes all this controversy, and she's isolated and alone, and feels ridiculed and put upon by people because of her looks, and yet she's so bloody cute. So I think, I don't know, perhaps it was a case of, in the same way that Joel Schumacher's adaptation of the Phantom of the Opera musical was scared to make Eric as ugly as he needed to be, because it was Jerry Butler, and they just gave him a third-degree sunburn on one side of his face. I think perhaps maybe they didn't want to make her too hideous in this, so they just went for the cutesy approach. But either way, it still carries, you know, the timeless and endearing message about beauty being within, and, you know, not to make superficial judgments on people, which is always an important lesson to hammer home. And the fairy tale slant that's taken on it is just, I think, really lovely, because that's the kind of thing I enjoy. And yeah, also, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, I've gone and forgotten his name. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. Actually, it might come back to me if I read the back. Peter Dinklage is in this, and I think his role's pretty cool. I like him in it, but I like him, again, like James McAvoy, I tend to like him in everything. But yeah, he has a cool little role in this too. I enjoy the film because it's sort of anachronistic in that you don't really know particularly what time period it's set in, but more specifically, I don't think it's meant to be specific as to where it's set. There's an awful, I know it was filmed in England, because there's an awful lot of English actors in, actually pretty much the entire cast is comprised of English actors doing, for the most part, American accents, which is again a strange choice. But we've got people like Simon Woods, he's in there doing his own accent, Benny Hill's in there doing his own accent, but then there's like Richard E. Grant plays Penelope's dad, and he's got an American accent going on. James has got an American accent going on. So it's just, yeah, it's interesting, because you can't exactly pinpoint if they intended for it to be, you know, set in London, or if it's meant to be New York or something. And the settings have a sort of heightened quality about them, so that they're not meant to really specifically evoke, you know, a place that we can recognize in real life. So I thought that was cool too. I like the use of the music in it too. The score's quite pretty, and there's some nice pop songs incorporated in there. Any Sigur Rós fans, there's a really lovely song at the end there. What else can I say? I think the chemistry between the actors was all pretty top-notch too. I think that Christina Ricci and James McAvoy are an odd pairing in a way, because I just wouldn't have envisioned them together. But I liked their chemistry. And it's all the more appealing because they don't actually meet physically that often in the film, so they had to work with, I guess, the physical barrier of not being able to see one another a lot, so they had to, I guess, work harder to evoke a sense of connection that way. But I don't know, there's just something about it's just very charming and sweet to me. And I just especially loved the visual aspects of it. Penelope has the single most awesome room ever. It's brilliant. Also, I love the costuming too. Her coat and her scarf were brilliant. Yeah, just to look at, I think it's a really pretty, really colourful, really interesting and curious little movie. And I'm glad I stumbled upon it. It's not a work of art. It's not, you know, it's not a prized example of the art of filmmaking, but it's just enjoyable, and I had fun with it. And yeah, I think it's underrated and undervalued, so if you can get your hands on it and just give it a watch, I do recommend it. So yeah, that's I would certainly give it 4 stars out of 5 for Penelope. Yeah.